We are here for the 13th in a 52-part series as we journey week by week through the daily Stoic. Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. I want to start with March 28th here, which is titled Cowardice as a Design Problem. And the quote comes to us from Seneca in Moral Letters, and it reads as such: "Life without a design is erratic. As soon as one is in place, principles become necessary. I think you'll concede that nothing is more shameful than uncertain and unwavering conduct, and beating a cowardly retreat. This will happen in all our affairs unless we remove the faults that seize and detain our spirits, preventing them from pushing forward and making an all-out effort." And the contribution from our authors: "The opposing team comes out strong, establishes an early lead, and you never had time to recover. You walk into a business meeting and are caught off guard. The whole thing goes poorly. A delicate conversation escalates into a shouting match. You switched majors halfway through college and had to start your coursework over and graduate late. Sound familiar? The chaos that ensues from not having a plan. Not because plans are perfect, but because people without plans, like a line of infantrymen without a strong leader, are much more likely to get overwhelmed and fall apart. The Super Bowl winning coach Bill Walsh used to avoid this risk by scripting the beginning of his games. He said in a lecture on game planning, his games, if you want to sleep at night before the game," he said in a lecture on game planning, "have your first 25 plays established in your own mind the night before that. You can walk into the stadium and you can start the game without that stress factor. You'll also be able to ignore a couple of early points or a surprise from your opponent. It's irrelevant to you. You already have your marching orders. Don't try to make it up on the fly. Have a plan." So I think that one of the things that we have to concede in life is that plans are necessary regardless of circumstance. So this is to say that plans, like our author says, might not be perfect, but what they do is they give us a place to start. This is the case in every area of life. And here's the thing: pretend it's a bad plan. Pretend it's a plan that gets you to fail, assuming that this is something that you want to do, assuming this is some place that you have to be, assuming that like this, where's it here? Oh no, where is it? Now I look like an idiot. Something about when the soldiers don't have a plan, it's easy for them to break rank. I can't find the part in here where it says that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Moving on. Of course, it is easy without a plan to lose your spirits immediately. But pretend that it's a bad plan, that it's a plan that does not lead to victory. Pretend that I have a plan to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, whatever that goal is. I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. I want to get to 1 million views, whatever it is. If I put a plan into place and it fails, I have a blueprint that doesn't work. I know things that fail. I know from where I can start planning the next thing. And that blueprint for things that don't work is valuable. It's not as valuable as success, but how easy is it when something doesn't go your way? How easy is it when you fail to forget everything that went into that failure if you don't have a plan? If you went in with my plan for getting to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube is to make videos talking about Stoic philosophy, okay? Ryan Holiday has a channel, okay? I don't know I think he barely has over 100,000. I might be completely wrong. Over 100,000 subscribers. And if he doesn't have anywhere near the amount of subscribers he deserves. For me to look at that and say, okay, yeah, it's a good blueprint to get to 100,000 subscribers by talking about Stoicism would be a mistake. by making this series and not getting anywhere near 100,000 subscribers, what I can realize is that talking about niche philosophies and niche books on YouTube does not equal subscribers. Though the plan failed, having had a plan, I am able to scratch something off the list. Because, again, it's very easy to forget strategies. It's very easy to forget non-strategies that failed. But if this fails, I don't get to 100,000 subscribers talking about the Daily Stoic, and the next brilliant plan occurs to me, well, I think I'll adopt one of these books about nihilism and see if that works. I can already tell you it's not going to, because it is a niche book about a niche philosophy. There's going to be passionate people about it. Are they going to find your content? Right? So that is not a good plan for that desired outcome. The kissing page to this, March 29th, titled, the 28th was titled Cowardice as a Design Problem. I don't know if I read that or not. March 29th is titled, Why Do You Need to Impress These People Again? And the quote comes to us from Epictetus. If you should ever turn your will to things outside your control in order to impress someone, be sure that you have wrecked your whole purpose in life. Be content, then, to be a philosopher in all that you do. And if you wish also to be seen as one, show yourself first that you are and you will succeed. Show yourself first that you are and you will succeed. And from our authors, is there anything sadder than the immense lengths we'll go to impress someone? The things we'll do to earn someone's approval can seem, when examined in retrospect, like the result of some temporary form of insanity. Suddenly, we're wearing uncomfortable, ridiculous clothes we've been told are cool, eating differently, talking differently, eagerly awaiting for a call or text. If we did these things because we liked it, that would be one thing. But that's not what it is. It's just a means to an end, to get someone to give us the nod. The irony, as Marcus Aurelius points out repeatedly, is that the people whose opinion we covet are not all that great. They are flawed. They're distracted and wowed by all sorts of silly things themselves. We know this, and yet we don't want to think about it. To quote Fight Club, again, we buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. Doesn't that sound pretty ridiculous? But more than that, isn't it about as far as possible as you can get away from the serenity and security that philosophy can provide? Look, this is a big one to me. This is a big tenet of Stoicism to me. You can care the world for someone, but you can't give a damn what they think about you. Think about the most precious person in your life. Think about someone that you hold above all others. Maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's your husband, your wife, whoever it is. What they think about you might be important, but it can't change what you do when you do what you think is right. Does that make sense? It's a little bit different, I think, with a relationship, with a marriage relationship, something like that, because this is someone that you have to live with. This is a partnership. But when you think of, it's easier, I think, when you're imagining a sibling, when you're imagining a best friend, when you're imagining a parent as one of these people. When you are putting that person on a pedestal, and you understand that that person does or does not like something about you, when you understand that person does or does not approve of something which is important to you, it's easy to let that change you and who you are. It's easy to let those things seep into the core of what it is that you consider you. And when that happens, when someone else's disapproval sinks in beyond the flesh into the core of your being, what can happen is that not only do you change who you are are living inauthentically. Living inauthentically, it's impossible to live fully. When you do not live fully, you become a husk. It's easier to, sort of ironically, it's easier to talk about this sort of thing in a specific versus as a philosophy. So pretend, I'll throw this out there. I hold my younger sister as precious. Very important to me. My younger sister disapproved of me writing. I can still do everything in the world that I can for my younger sister. I'm not going to stop writing. That's who I am. It's what I do. It's part of me. When I don't write, I feel like I'm on fire. So if she came to me and she said, look, you got to stop writing or we can't see each other, well, then I'll mail you the stuff that I got for you, right? Seems harsh, but someone who's going to put that sort of demand on you, and people will the minute they think they can have that control over you, especially my younger sister. People will put all sorts of little things onto your character when they think they can. And I don't mean this as a people are evil sort of thing. I think that it's something that is probably psychologically just natural, more human than human. I think that it's something that probably seeps into most relationships on some level. I really do believe that you can care the world for someone, but you can't give a damn what they think about you. Because when you start caring what someone thinks about you, look, all the people in the world that I care about, I care deeply how they feel about themselves. Caring about how someone feels about themselves is a key tenet, I think, to having and leave it to the guy who's a loner to try to explain this, but is a key tenet to a successful relationship. Not like lover's relationship, right? Any type of relationship. Your boss, people who work beneath you, family dynamics. Caring how any of those people feel about themselves leads to a more fruitful and mutually beneficial relationship, regardless. Caring how they feel about you. Caring how they feel about you. Say it again. How they feel about you leads to much different outcomes. Caring how someone feels about, I can't control your feelings. I can control what I do. If I think the right thing to do in a work relationship is to show up on time, get all of my things done, and take care of my end of that job, sounds like a pretty good plan. Someone who wants you to care how they feel about you probably wants you to do a little bit more of their work, mightn't they? Whatever that thing is, whatever that dynamic is, whatever that relationship is, that's there. Moving on, March 31st. The day titled, "You're a Product of Your Training." And the quote comes to us from Marcus Aurelius. "Chasing what can't be done is madness, but the base person is unable to do anything else." And from our authors, "A dog that's allowed to chase cars will chase cars. A child who is never given any boundaries will become spoiled. An investor without discipline is not an investor, he's a gambler. A mind that isn't in control of itself, that doesn't understand its power to regulate itself, will be jerked around by external events and unquestioned impulses. That can't be how you'd like tomorrow to go. So you must be aware of that. You must put in place training and habits now to replace ignorance and ill discipline. Only then will you begin to behave and act differently. Only then will you stop seeking the impossible, the short-sighted, and the unnecessary. I quibble a little bit with the idea of the impossible. I don't know what that means. I don't know exactly what it is that is being implied there. I don't know if it is like, I want to have a 93-inch vertical. You're not going to, because you're a human being. I don't know if that is one of my goals that makes its way into my list of goals every year, is to revolutionize literature. That's impossible, but it still finds its way in there. It's still something, a goal, an unreachable goal, probably, that inspires me. And every time I open up that document that has my list of goals and I see that, I think, what does that even mean, revolutionize literature? Hemingway did it. How did he do it? So Hemingway, going back in this video, had a plan. I'm going to write a short story like this. I'm going to write one true sentence. It's a pretty good plan. And if you follow up that true sentence with another true sentence, that's a game plan. That game plan is pretty good and ended up with him revolutionizing literature, with him basically inventing the American short story. So I'm going to quibble with the use of the word impossible. But the short-sighted and the unnecessary. When chasing goals, I think, when deigning to implicate yourself in something greater than yourself, unnecessary things and short-sighted things are often like candy to the mind's eye. When I sit down to write, I want to get those words out. I'm left-handed. I don't know why I did it the other way. All sorts of little sweets parade about in my mind. I want to check my stocks. Shouldn't I do that? Hey, what was that word I learned last year? Began with an A. I can't remember. Let me pull up that sheet that I had. It's a pretty good word, if I could remember it. Hey, what are the Chiefs up to? Kansas City Chiefs. Football. Yeah. Let's think about football for a while. All of these things are unnecessary. All of these things are short-sighted. All of these things lead to some instant gratification. But that long-term goal of writing, it gets pushed back and pushed back in your mind, my mind. And really, the most fruitful times in my life have been even in a creative endeavor. So a lot of people shrug off the idea of discipline with creative endeavors. The most productive times of my life with creative endeavors, with writing, with poetry and short stories and novels, with criticisms, have been when I have put into place disciplined ideas about that productivity. I have to get 200 words today. I have to shoot a video on a poem today. All of these things are things that make the end product of you a product of the training that you go through. And it's more difficult to investigate and analyze the results of that practice with creative endeavors, I think, because there will be times where, for example, if you're a poet, you didn't write for 3 months, January, February, and March. But sometime in February, you wrote a poem that you're really proud of. And in April, you started making sure to write a poem a week. In May, you said, well, I want to write 8 poems in May. Comes out to 2 poems a week-ish. And then you say, hey, in June, I got a hair. I want to write a poem every day, baby. And it turns out, same 3-month span, maybe you don't have any poems that you consider as brilliant as the one that you wrote in February. But out of 8, 12, 42 poems, out of 42 poems, you got 5 pretty good ones. Well, a little bit of spit and polish, and those 5 pretty good ones can be as good as that one that came from the previous 3 months. And when you look at it in terms of something simpler, imagine construction workers worked that same way. Nobody felt like showing up to work on the house in January. Everybody showed up for 1 day in February. In March, they took every day off. That 1 day got us real sore, guys. Imagine that's how houses went up. We wouldn't have a country. You wouldn't have a neighborhood. It would be awful. It would be mayhem. It would be bedlam. But we refuse, when speaking about the creative endeavors, and I'm assuming if you're here listening to this, creative endeavors are more of your thing than construction, maybe. More of a passion for you than construction sort of a job, right? Very few of us are working professionally with writing or music or whatever it is that we're here for. Philosophy. But if you put those same principles into play, you put those same principles of discipline, showing up every day and doing the work, into play with your creative endeavors, it becomes a whole lot more fruitful. And think of it with physical activities, working out. That's obvious. People that go to the gym every day show results, whether that's with strength or sort of general fitness, looking better. People who go to the gym every day show those results. But creative endeavors are every bit as entangled with discipline and hard work as are those ideas of construction or working out. We just don't credit them with that. That is one of the things that I hope to learn and take from the Daily Stoic, is a little bit of practice with discipline and discipline in practice. I kind of like that. Somebody write that down. That is all I have for this episode. I know I'm running a little bit behind. The whole poetry discussion every day for National Poetry Month over on Strip Cover Lit is really beating me up. But we're going to be getting back to this series, so watch this space.